Hello, my name is Anthony Shepard, and I teach honors physical science at Captain Freshman Academy. I learned about Strive several years ago and actually applied to Strive and was accepted, but that was during the COVID years. And unfortunately, they canceled it for that year due to COVID. And so I came back a few years later and applied again and was fortunate enough to be accepted. And I've been very fortunate to be a part of Strive, and I've learned a lot from Strive. My placement was Ridout Lumber Company in Searcy, Arkansas. And the Searcy store is the original store started by the Ridouts. And when I first started there, I just assumed that the Ridout was still part of a family owned lumber company in Searcy, Arkansas. When I got there, I learned that they were bought out by USLBM and was now more of a wider corporation throughout the United States that has come in and bought local lumber companies. And I could see the family side of it, and I could see the corporate side of it, and how they vary so much. During my time at Rideout, I had the opportunity to go to a different department every day and learn about how that department operates. The very first one I chose to do was the inside sales. And these are the inside salespeople, and they're kind of the face of the company. And they just do such a great job of noticing faces when people come in and are so personable and know everybody by name. And it was just reminded me of how that how hometown lumber company really works. Another department that I visited on a daily basis was the flooring department, and I got to spend a day with Miss Wilda, who is the in charge of flooring. And what the way it worked with her is there's contractors that would send people into her, and they would pick out the tile for their houses or whatever building needs they were having, and she would help them. This is Miss Bonnie, and she's probably by far the leading salesperson in the Searcy Rideout store. And more than likely, it's because they have their own door manufacturing company or their door shop, and so they do a lot of business with their own door shop. And she sells just basic inside doors and windows, and so those are a lot less in variety and demand from other companies. And so I think that she was probably the busiest person in the store, and she was constantly helping customers picking out windows and doors for their new houses. After spending a week or so inside the store with doing all kinds of inside sales, I made my way outside of the building. And the first place I went was with load building. And these are the guys that run around everywhere on forklifts, and they're building loads to go out on the large. Another aspect of the outside department of the lumber company was the box truck drivers. They had a couple of box truck drivers, and they were more of a local delivery, and they would build their own loads and load their box trucks up and then make those deliveries on a daily basis. Sometimes they might make two or three runs. But this is someone that I spent a couple of days with in Leonard, and he was very helpful in showing me how the yard, as they call it, usually helps customers that come in for customer pickups. These may be contractors or just do-it-yourselfers who are coming in to pick up some local supplies for building projects that they have going on. The yard workers not only help local customers, but they're also involved in keeping stock up and unloading and loading delivery trucks. And so when a delivery truck comes in, they help restock the shelves, and they make sure that the shelves are restocked. And if they're running short on anything, they let the salespeople inside know to reorder. One of the things I found fascinating when I was at Rideout was just how much the forklifts were involved in their daily operations. And that made me think of the forces and fluids, and specifically Pascal's principle when it comes to hydraulics. Well, the forklifts were very instrumental in their everyday projects that were going on at Rideout Lumber Company. Because I teach honors physical science, most of my students felt like they could do really well in their science course, and they understood that science was probably a program that or a field of study that they needed to do well in for their future endeavors. So about 90% of my students felt like that they would do really well, either an A or a B in their physical science class, and that they would be able to do well in their homework and on their test. And that proved to be the point and the case, and that about the average test grade on this particular unit was about 88%. And that was probably a 25% jump from their pre assessment, and because they had not ever